surprise. I usually end up in front of the Blacksmith booth. I have been excited to talk to you all day. You have a forge that you've built that runs off of wood. No more coal.
No more coal.
One of the worst things about my blacksmithing experience is I've got to buy coal that's got to be imported from Tennessee, or I don't know, it's a long ways away from my neighbor. It's about $30 a bag. It's hard to manage, it's hard to work a fire in it, dealing with clinkers. I would love to be able to have something like this because I've got acres and acres of wood. I don't have acres of coal. So how did you come about this?
You know, we had pretty much the same experience that you did, that we were starting off with coal. Actually, my daughter was. And we had to import it, find good quality, and then deal with the moisture issue here in the Pacific Northwest. So we had lots of wood, and we thought charcoal is a historic forging fuel, so how can we solve this coal problem? And I didn't want to buy propane either, so.
We were just talking earlier about it's not very fun to use propane because you're just watching the meter go down. You just know I'm going to have to go and buy the stuff at $4 or $5 a gallon.
Yeah,
and it's not very nice.
It becomes a barrier to learning the craft and creativity. So
right.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this because I have not done a lot of blacksmithing for that very reason, and this is going to change everything for me. So let's go look at the forge and we can meet your daughter Corey.
All right, sounds good.
And you are the blacksmith of the family. You started this whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into it?
I started when I was 11. I was volunteering at a local historical site, and they had a small one-man shop there with a little coal forge to period correct to pioneer times, and I just started working in there, and I've been doing it ever since. I have a mentor, and it's a lot of fun.
So this is the forge, and can you show how it works, and why is it this V-shape like this?
Well,
go ahead.
Okay, the V-shape makes gravity work for you. When I put my fuel in here, it'll tend to fall down and concentrate my fire naturally, instead of some flatter models where you have to be constantly scraping it in here.
Right.
And the only thing it really does is sometimes it burns hollow, and then I just give it a smack down in there. In the bottom here, when I turn this fan, the air blows up through a draft tube in the bottom, up underneath. There's a tube within the tube with holes drilled offset so that I can turn the dial and adjust the fire bed all the way up to whatever length I want, from 1 to 10 holes up the entire length.
So I have a brake drum forge that runs coal, and I have to deal with the clinkers in the bottom and dig those out. So how do you get away from all of the excess ash clogging up the ports?
With the wood, it basically just blows away. Sometimes they give it an extra hard crank just to really blow it out, but there's almost no waste. I might pull out the second tube and tap it out every once in a while, but there's no clinker, there's very little ash, it burns really clean.
So your dad was telling me that you guys sell these all over the country, and people are just using any type of wood that they have. When I saw this, I thought, well, obviously hardwood would be the best, and I was a little sad because I don't have hardwood, but you said that the fir works as well as anything.
It actually works a little better in our experience and others. It tends to form charcoal quicker than the resinous hardwoods, and that can be an advantage. But in the end, any wood will work.
Interesting. So can you show us the fuel that you're using and how much you have here, and basically how long that would last?
Well, we have just our firewood, or 2x4s, chopped up here into chunks. You could go a little bit smaller than this. Sometimes we go a little bit bigger, but the size of the fuel matters a lot more than the type of wood, like we said, and how dry it is really important. You can be really frustrated trying to blacksmith with wet fuel.
Okay, so you want the kiln dried stuff.
It doesn't have to be that dry.
Okay, so probably under 20% humidity?
Well, she uses our firewood, which we live in a really rainy zone, and it's almost always about 20%.
Okay. That is so interesting. So this bucket right here, what do you have? You probably have, what, 20 gallons there?
25, yeah.
25 gallons. If you were going to be working all day, how long would this last you?
Well, it depends on the size of fire that you're running, obviously. I would probably go through a bucket about like this in maybe 6 or 8 hours, maybe a little bit more than that in that period of time. But I can run my fire really economically if I need to.
Okay.
And yeah, it depends.
But you don't have to, because it's wood.
Yeah.
It's wood, and I mean, you can just use your scraps that you're not going to mess with for your wood stove.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So for most people that are going to go out and do a project, you know, a pile like this would last you a couple days.
It would.
No problem.
It would.
Well, that is great. That is great. I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about your blowers. Because my subscribers, I just finished up a series where I restored one of the old Buffalo blowers that we
fantastic,
talked
yeah.
about, and which is really nice, but those are not readily available.
It's
and I
true.
was lucky to even find one. But you guys are importing these from India, but you have good luck with them.
We do. There, you know, you have some third world quality control issues, but we found the best source that we could, and of course we'll stand behind them. You know, we have a goal of building our own someday, but we have a fairly inexpensive model from China that's stamped steel and spur gears, and a little more expensive one from India that's cast. And we've had good luck with both of them.
So I would imagine that there is not a U.S. manufacturer of these anymore.
There isn't. There isn't.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, great.
So there's one question that comes up a lot, and that is, can you get to forging welding temperatures with the wood fire? And the answer is yes. It is in fact a charcoal forge by the time you're done. You start with wood, but down where the heat is, it's actually a charcoal forge. So anything you can do with a charcoal forge can be done with this forge. So welding, no problem.
No more buying propane, no more buying coal.
Not if you don't want to.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Right. So what's your experience of forging with wood or working with the wood versus the coal? Because you've done both.
I found the fuel density is slightly less in the wood. You have to feed the fire a little bit more. It's much cleaner burning. You don't have the noxious fumes coming off,
Yes.
and that's pretty nice after a
Right.
while. And you don't have to deal with the clinker, the little bits of sand and silica
Right.
that you find in coal that melt down into the bottom and clog up your fire. You have to clean it out every once in a while. You just have the ash blowing off of the wood, and it burns cleaner.
That makes a lot of sense to me
Yeah.
because I've got a 40 by 60 shop, and it's got a huge bay door that opens, and I got my fabricating table, which is steel, and I just cut a circle and drop that forge in there. I don't have a hood and all of that, but I thought, well, I'm right next to the door, so it'll get enough breeze in there. But it is noxious.
Yeah, it'll fill
when I
the
first
room. Yeah.
first fire that up there, I have to leave
A lot of sulfur.
the room or put a respirator on. So having that would be much better. Yeah, I never even thought about that.
Yes, it's a big deal for some people.
Well, that is great. Thank you guys for sharing this, and I think it's just a wonderful forge. And I can't see the benefit of buying a coal or propane for your hobbyists.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's really nicely built, and you guys are doing this. Your son's putting them together in your shop, and
We're
And me
all
and Dad and
we're all working together on it.
so it's a family business.
It's a family
Yes.
business.
Yeah, that's the best type. Well, great. Well, I'll put a link to the site in the bottom. And so, what are you calling it?
It's our Whitlock's wood-fired forge.
Okay. I'll put a link down in the subject heading there, and you guys can go take a look at that. But great family and a great story, and I appreciate the time you gave us.
Oh, thank
and,
you.
I'm really impressed. I want one.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.